Po, 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 po.
Many qualities for you to dislike.
I'm vengeance.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Suit Up Geek podcast. Hope you guys having a great and fantastical fucking day, because I know we are. But you know what we're doing in anticipation for Spider-Man No Way Home? Probably one of the craziest, most anticipated, most hyped film of all time is about to come out in about a month at this point, and we figure we do some throwback reviews of all the previous Spider-Man movies in honor of. We won't say it here just in case you're unaware, but you might want to do your research before you see No Way Home. That's all I want to say, folks. And we're here to help you with that research, and we're here deep diving and analyzing the very first Spider-Man film directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man himself back in 2002, guys. That is fucking so long ago. That's almost 20 years in about a month. That's about to be 20 years, guys. 2002.
It's crazy.
That the fucking time has flown by, and we're here still talking about the movie. And yeah, this movie did a lot for the superhero genre, along with X-Men. Ironically enough, both Marvel properties, but this one is probably one of the most iconic characters or superheroes in history, right along with the heights of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, I'd even say, because the fact that we're still talking about this movie and still having a Spider-Man film being one of the most highly anticipated films of all time 20 years later, and going in about making its own universe within itself, teasing the Sinister Six almost like 5 fucking times. It's annoying. We're here. We're starting with the original. And as per usual, we got the boys here. What is going on, Lo?
Oh, it's almost hump day, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a holiday week for some, but the work never stops for my line of business, and just trying to make it through. But I'm excited to be back. It's been a while since we've all been together, so it's almost a mini reunion of sorts. Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
Yeah, and guys, we got some exciting stuff coming to the channel, along with some more Suit Up Geek Fix drafts along your way, and the new trivia show, but more of that to come at the end. And what about you, Deeps? How you doing, my man?
Doing well, man. I had the day off. I have the day off tomorrow. So
Yes.
this is like where I'm like, so I did nothing during 2021. Like I've got a kid. It's so hard for me to see movies. So I'm going to go see a movie tomorrow because I have off tomorrow. I'm excited to see Ghostbusters. I had off today, and I watched Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 today. I'm just ready to go, man. I'm excited for this movie. And I have a lot of thoughts about this, especially just reflecting on our trailer reaction video between me and Ryan. A lot of thoughts here. I'm excited to dig in.
No, definitely. But before we really get deep in the facts, by the way, guys, spoilers for this movie. I know it's long ago, but a nice little spoiler warning is always nice to have. But before we get in deep and gritty, Loretto, I just want you to tell me, what are your general thoughts and opinions on this movie before we really get into the deep and thickness of these roots?
Just like general opinion of the film.
Yeah, just general.
Yeah,
opinion.
I regard it really highly. In terms of like my ranking, it's still in my top 5 out of all of the Spider-Man films we've had. You kind of hit the nail on the head already. It broke so much ground in the sense that in 2002, it was one of the highest grossing films of all time, and arguably the boom that we had after, especially with Iron Man coming out 6 years later. Arguably, we might not have an MCU without Spider-Man, especially if it failed or if it flopped or Marvel lost the movie properties to someone else or whatever you. It's arguable that this paved the way for the MCU in a sense. And going back to the film itself, Willem Dafoe is one of the greatest actors of our time. Um, threw a lot of camp into the Osborn character, but at the same time, his zany voice and nature and cackling and quips and just his style just really, for me, he hit it out of the park, because the Goblin is a very specific character. It's Joker to Batman the way that Goblin is to Spider-Man. It's his arch nemesis. It's his most iconic villain, and I think Willem Dafoe did an admirable job bringing that character to life. And then going to Tobey Maguire, who unfortunately looked like he was 30 in high school, but I think between him, he had a very honest portrayal, and I think that Raimi understood the character more so than I think any director so far. And I'm not trying to shit on Mark Webb or John Watts at all. I'm just saying that I think that the first 20-30 minutes of this film, he captured that origin almost to a T with the first issue of Spider-Man. You could compare the stills, you can compare the concepts of how he became Spider-Man. And I think those two things, I think, is what makes this movie so memorable for me. So thank you, Sam Raimi, and thank you, Tobey Maguire.
Couldn't agree more. What about you, Deebs? What is your general thoughts and opinion on this movie?
I just want to piggyback where we started. Before we move forward, let's go back. You talked about box office. The box office numbers are absolutely outstanding. 2002, it made more money worldwide than Wonder Woman, Deadpool, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men Days of Future Past, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Man of Steel. It's just unbelievable. Logan. And when you consider like inflation, like that is just mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing that, 20 years ago, this movie still is tops. That being said, that's the caveat is there's a lot of this movie that doesn't hold up. The CGI, some of the campiness doesn't hit as well as it did back then. However, like you said, Loretto, like Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi absolutely nailed this one out of the park. And when I said earlier about how I have a personal take, a personal preference for my Peter Parker, and that is a personal story. It's a personal story, an emotional story. It's about love. It's about loss. It's about overcoming that loss. And it's really the roots of where this started, which was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. So I found that really interesting because I never thought about that when we were doing our Spider-Man No Way Home trailer reaction. My concerns were it's too much. There's too much Doctor Strange. There's too much Sinister Six. There's too much going on. It's too epic. The story is just not enough Peter, not enough MJ, vice versa. So that was my issue with that. And sure enough, I watched Spider-Man today, and this is a personal story. You look at the dynamics between Norman and Harry and Peter. You look at the dynamics between Peter and MJ. It's really a character drama first, then epic superhero. It's a character drama masked around this like big summer blockbuster, but it's really at the roots a movie that's about just this character, this nerdy character that has a lot of just immediate, just like you said, Loretto, Sam Raimi understood who this character was, Spider-Man, and made him immediately relatable to everybody. Like everybody went through the shit that Spider-Man has gone through in high school. Everybody had to deal with all that inner character, inner drama, and had to manage it somehow. And that is exactly my initial takeaway, because when I was thinking back to a week ago when we did our trailer reaction, I was nervous, Ryan, right? Like I was
you were
a little too much for me. Like there's so much going on, bang, 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 CGI everywhere. But at the heart of my favorite, I know it's personal preference, Peter Parker, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, tackling those personal, emotional journeys. That's my Peter Parker. And that's what this Spider-Man was.
You guys all speak factual truths here. And I feel like I lean a little bit more in the camp of Deebs. This movie, for all the good that it's done for when it came out with the box office, what it's done for the superhero genre, what it's done for the MCU, even what it's going to do, possibly, actually, it definitely will have effect in about a month from now, guys. I just got to say, this movie just doesn't hold up as well as I keep hoping to wish it did. Like every time I'm about to turn it on, I think about the movie and I'm sitting there. I'm like, you know what? This movie is not showing its age too much. So I watch. I'm like, wait a second, no, yeah, it definitely shows its age. And the whole Times Square parade scene, I feel like just gets worse and worse every time I watch it, and it's unfortunate because it just. I don't know if it's not good editing, if it's just not a good combination of shots with the VFX and what's real. Like you can very obviously tell when it's not Willem Dafoe and when it is Willem Dafoe. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it shouldn't be a noticeable thing. Now,
Even the action when they're in that fire scene, when Norman Osborn goes like, "Ha!" You can see Tobey Maguire's like they're already like it's the choreography is so bad. Like you can see it, like he knew it was coming, and it was just the action, considering we just got off of Shang-Chi and things like that. It's funny to go back and watch some of these films back in the early 2000s, like just totally different ball game. I agree, Ryan. It's definitely not aged well.
and there's a lot of minor nitpicks that just really fucking bother me. And I kind of just want to go through a list of them real quick because I want to see what you guys have on opinions on these. So when it comes to the actual fight in Times Square at the parade, we see Norman or the Green Goblin throw one of his goblin bombs, and it's such a contained blast, and it doesn't look realistic. Like there's a bomb doesn't do that, and it doesn't affect anything around it. It only affects the people. Like literally, MJ is maybe 2 feet away from them, and it doesn't affect her. I'm like, what use is that bomb if it doesn't affect someone 2 feet away from them? Like some super super plot convenience in this. The obvious famous meme out of this film of after that scene when he takes MJ and it's obviously a statue she's holding with the hair flowing the opposite direction of the way they're going and not the right sense. So it throws you off. You're like, wait a second, what way are they actually like flying? But you know what? That doesn't really matter. Something that truly bothered me yesterday after like rewatching this is at the end when Goblin is holding Mary Jane one end and then the tram full of kids on the other and drops both of them, makes them choose, right? That iconic shit that you see them make over and over again. When Peter jumps for MJ, he saves both, right? And he's holding both of them together, right? And Goblin's literally just fucking around and just flying back and forth and just monologuing for absolutely no reason. He goes around for 2 hits, hits him twice in the chest. I'm like, bro, why not? Why would you not just cut his fucking web? You would just kill everybody, bro. Your mission would be accomplished. Spider-Man wouldn't do anything. You would just keep cutting his web until they all fell in the water. Why would you keep shooting him in the chest? He's obviously strong enough to just take it to the chest. Why wouldn't you just cut the fucking webs? They can't be that hard to cut off. If I'm going to assume the city cleans up after Spider-Man every time he leaves a mess. So they have to clean up the web somehow. So that's truly something that bothers me. And yeah, it is very cartoony now. It is very Sam Raimi. It's kind of funny. You watch this now and it just screams Sam Raimi. I'm like, wait a second. This is much more like Evil Dead every time I watch it again and again than I really think it is, especially that second one, obviously. But we'll get to that in a future review. But I was going to say, yeah, just spoilers again here on out, but I pretty much just spoiled like a bunch of plot points in the movie. And yeah, the CG doesn't hold up very well. The suit still looks fantastic. I don't think like for an iconic shoot up scene, I don't think it's very iconic for his first time as people thought it was. It feels very anticlimactic when he finally puts on the suit. Like, I like the way Mark Webb did it better in the Amazing Spider-Man films with that really cool POV shot of him swinging around New York City, and then the reveal is him in the mirror. just staring at himself. In this, it's just he's doing a few robberies, saving them. The next thing you just see him running in just like this perfect lighting at night, and you're just in there like, oh, cool suit. Like there's no intensity around it. Like I feel like, especially with the score in this film, they could have made like a super awesome moment of him with his suit on for the very first time. Um, but yeah, sorry, I've been talking a lot. I feel like I feel like I'm breaking your heart a little bit.
No, you're fine. But I am
Uh,
coming in with my
yeah.
Sam Raimi shield and sword. I must
come
defend
in
this
hard
picture.
then. Come in
But
hard.
I will start by saying I actually agree with you. I think the entrance of the suit could have been cool like more epic the first time. I agree with that. I agree some of the CG, sure, it's a little wonky. The CG balloons especially,
Sure.
I think probably my least favorite thing about the film. The CG balloons drive me nuts. Like they just look bad. Like F the parade. They could have had a concert down there, no balloons. I don't know. That's my main thing. But I will say this. When I look back at this film, minus Danny Elfman's amazing score,
It's so good.
I don't linger on all of those points. I don't remember how bad the CG was. I don't remember how the choreo wasn't really all, perfect choreographed. No. What I remember is him crawling the wall the first time.
Yeah.
What I remember is that final fight that while it's not as well choreographed, it was brutal. His mask is coming off, he's bleeding, and like him and Goblin are just beating the shit out of each other. He drops a brick wall on Norman. Like the stronger parts of the film for me resonate more so than the negative stuff.
Wait,
Like,
Lo, can I just jump in real quick?
yeah, sure.
Because I gotta say, I agree, but the problem with all the good moments is they're so short. Like, I love that scene at the end where they're doing that super gritty fight, but the entire third act is primarily like that bridge stuff. And I really don't like that bridge stuff because the CG with the goblin, he looks like he's pasted onto the screen, like he is not physically there or something. And it really throws me off. And I think that's what makes me appreciate like those live action elements, like when he goes into the fire building and they're fighting. And that's when the CGI is really good because they know when to use it there.
And they did the Matrix shot. Where he
Yeah, and
goes,
I think that's the problem.
But
just
but
think
honestly,
that's the
like I was just
problem.
saying though, just to kind of wrap it with a bow, I just remember the stuff I love about it more so than all the cheesy stuff. And to be fair, I was kind of a Raimi fan before the film. So I had a kick out of all that. The jokes, Bruce Campbell as the announcer, freaking Macho Man Randy Savage
So
fighting
good.
him in the ring. And
Boom!
love that
Going
stuff. It was
ready.
you're going nowhere.
Ooh.
I love that. And then I also love Bruce Campbell's bit like, human spider, that stinks, like here's the amazing Spider-Man. I don't know. I love that stuff, man. I kind of just, and I think that's also why 2 is my favorite still, because
Yes.
2 improved everything about the first film.
Yep.
And are we getting into that today, or are we saving that?
No,
Are
that's
we shelving that?
Wait, say that again? I was reading Formal's comments. Sorry.
Spider-Man 2, we'll do that another show. We'll do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we'll do that then like a few days.
I got a lot of thoughts on that one too. A lot of thoughts. But I agree wholeheartedly with Loretto. Like going back to where I said this is more of a character drama. Like the side cast of this film was just elite. That's one of the top things you think. Oh my gosh, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson was
Iconic.
absolutely epic. When you talk about best casting, absolutely epic in this film. You talk about Bruce Campbell, you said Randy Savage, William Dafoe's epic presence as Norman Osborn. Even Octavia Spencer was in this, and I totally blanked on that for a long time. That was really, really fun. And I actually, all right, this might be a hot take. Actually, I'm going to get to that. I'll get to my hot take later.
Oh, now I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll get to my hot take in a little bit. And it's something that occurred to me while watching this film today. But this film, I had like an epiphany today. Just like Batman Mask of the Phantasm did for me, is in the same realm as this. This film understood Peter Parker just as much as it did Spider-Man. Whereas in the MCU, it's much more about Spider-Man than Peter Parker. Amazing Spider-Man was like probably in the middle, I thought this film understood the hardship and overcoming loss, and that triumphant, with great power comes great responsibility. What it means to be Peter Parker, just like Mask of the Phantasm, it understood what it meant to be Bruce Wayne and the weight of becoming Batman and the responsibility of being Batman and choosing that over love, choosing that responsibility over the hardship, the pain of what it means to be a superhero. That's what I remember about this film.
So I got two things. I got a answer for what Formal's comment was. I think comparing technology is almost a moot point because older films are more likely to look worse because of the times. I mean, sure, but you also have directors back then. Like, there's still movies that look fantastic to this day. Terminator 2, for crying out loud. Alien still looks great. Like,
Fellowship of the Ring.
so yeah, I mean, Lord of the Rings, bro. There's filmmaker. You know they're a good filmmaker when they take into account what the film will look like with different technology in the future, and that's what a lot of certain filmmakers did in the past, and it shows. And that's why I think like Avatar is going to look really good in 10 years still. But yeah, that's just my answer to that. I mean, sure,
Real quick too,
Terminate.
because this kind of relates to what
Terminator's
Dive was saying about the
bad,
responsibility.
okay.
I gotta say, the final monologue for Peter really seals the deal for me.
That's
That him walking away from this girl he's loved since he was a child and accepting the fact that he's gonna be this guy and he can't have the attachment, walking through a cemetery, having Danny Elfman's score in the background, and he's like, "Who am I? I'm Spider-Man." Then we see that final swing, man. My heart soared.
Dude, it's so good.
Doesn't matter how many times I've seen it.
In the beginning, when it's like you hear the Elfman score for the first time, and the first words are, "Who am I? You sure you want to know?" And then he ends
No.
it with, "I'm fucking Spider-Man."
Yeah, he ties it
Cue
up right at the
the
end.
score, dude.
So-
Still goosebumps.
I gotta tell you guys, I do cry at that moment at the end every time. And you guys want to know why? Because I cry for Peter.
Mhm.
For the same reason you guys a little bit, because the woman he loves, he's saying no to. But also at the same time, I feel bad for him because she's just trying to use him as a third wheel and doesn't really love him. So I feel bad for falling for her shit. That's why I'm crying. Because MJ, I will say about this, as each film goes on, I will talk about MJ. I will talk trash about her more and more as each film progresses. She's bearable in this film, but I did not believe for a second she likes Peter. In the beginning of the film, she could not acknowledge this motherfucker for half a second in her life. An hour and 40 minutes later, bro, she's sobbing for this man at the funeral for her ex-boyfriend's father that just so happens to be Peter's best friend at the same time. Like, bro, how fucking awkward does that have to be?
All right, can I give my hot
I
take?
actually couldn't disagree more, but go ahead, Dive.
Can I give my yeah? I'm gonna. So for a
Pissing
long
people
time,
off.
Ryan, we have a comment by Not a Critic says thank you, Mary Jane Toxic.
I know.
For a
I'm
long
sorry.
time, I have been anti this character, and
Who?
I want to throw a hot take in here and say
Come on,
that
just say it.
she's wildly misunderstood. Wildly misunderstood. A lot of people, consider kind of this Mary Jane as the weak point. Like, she's essentially like Kim Basinger in Batman. She's literally there just for her screams. All she does is scream, and that's just what she is. However, you look at her background. She's in an abusive family. Clearly, look at her dad. Alcoholism. There's probably a trauma background, and she has nobody. She's dealing with things in her life that should have been probably more fleshed out, but this isn't an MJ movie. This is a movie about Spider-Man, so clearly they had to balance a lot. You kind of look at her, the way she looks at Peter is that, she's finding acceptance. She's trying to find someone that loves her and will do everything it takes for her. So she's never had that in her life. Her relationships in her life have been up and down, and pretty much nothing. She has fake friends, clearly. You look at the crowd she hangs out with, they're probably
explains a
all
lot.
fake. And she sees Peter the way Peter looks at her. That's probably the first time in a long time that someone has actually genuinely loved her. That's my take on Mary Jane. I think she's underrated.
So
Okay, there's two things for me that make her character. One, the scene where her dad's being a fucking asshole, yelling at her or whatever. Peter's taking out the trash and they see each other. I think it's weird that they're neighbors. That's one thing that bothers me too. But whatever. The girl next door, like literally. That scene over the fence, I really liked. I thought it was very
writers.
honest. I thought it was very natural. I liked how Peter's complimenting her performance in a play they did when they were like in kindergarten or something like that. It was adorable. And then also what really makes it for me though, because she does do those nice like those looks. If you miss it, you like if you don't catch it, you miss it, right? So like she'll look at Peter a certain way, but what really makes it is the hospital scene. When Peter kind of just admits like how he can be there for someone but without actually saying it. It's actually one of my favorite scenes as well. Like Toby just kills that part about just being like more than yourself and like, you know, him speaking honestly about how Mary Jane makes him feel versus him really saying it. I just thought it was beautiful, and I also think that she understood what he was talking about. I thought that was very well done in my opinion. So
I agree though, Ryan. I do not like the damsel in distress.
She's such an awful person though. The things she puts Peter through, not in this movie, she doesn't do it in this movie, but more specifically the second and third movie, but within this movie, it's what she does to everyone else. Like, bro, what is the reason for her getting with Harry? I do not get a reason for her being with Harry other than to add that conflict for no other reason.
I think, like I said, she has incredible amounts of insecurity. I think she has failures all around her family life, her job, her personal life. I think there is more to MJ. I'm trying to play devil's advocate, Ryan.
Yeah, you're trying.
I'm trying really hard.
But I think you're trying harder than the writers, Deep. I'll give you that credit.
actually,
I think you're trying harder than the writers.
no, Ryan, I'll give you some credit here. It is awkward that if she's harboring feelings for Peter even a little bit, it is kind of weird that she gets with Harry.
She also makes it obvious too. It's not like she doesn't try to make it obvious. It's very obvious that she does not like fucking Harry. She likes Peter. It's very obvious. You got the Thanksgiving dinner. You've got Peter coming to her work. You've got her coming to the hospital. Him walking after her telling him that he had replied to her in a day. Like, bro, how many more times does she have to say, bro, I want to fuck Peter and not you? Like, come on. It's obvious. Like, bro, I know you told yourself, like, I love her dad.
You're
but
missing
dude,
something here. You're missing something.
what I'm missing all the undertones that you have very clearly written for this.
Well,
movie
look at the relationship between Norman and Harry. Harry is insanely jealous about Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. That was clearly laid in this movie that Norman prefers almost Peter as his like first child. Like he loves Peter Parker, whereas Harry just is just completely invested in trying to get his dad's appraisal, trying to get his dad's attention. So how do you best Peter Parker? Stealing his woman. So that is how I read that, was that he did that in the sense, not necessarily be a douchebag friend. Well, yeah, no, I'll say it. Harry's the douchebag, not MJ.
I mean, they're both douchebags. In my eye, they're equally douchebags for their own reason.
To Dive's point, I think she was with Harry the same reason she was with Flash. And I think he actually is onto something about her insecurity and her need to be comforted by someone that she deems like powerful or strong, because that's what she sees in Flash. He's a bad boy with a car, and then with Harry, he's got the money. And it's all these
she
things
also
that
knows
Peter
Joe
can't give her, but Peter has the
Manganiello is a
purest
better
heart.
actor.
And I think that's very, I'm not saying she's right or wrong, but I can see the conflict of what she wants and needs.
I think, look at her family. Like clearly she lives next to Peter for a reason. They have very little resources. She sees Flash, she sees Harry. I think there is a pattern there. And that is what it is. So yeah, is that a character flaw for MJ to find that safety blanket and get a better life for herself? I don't think so, man. I think you see that all the time. Like I don't know. I'm trying to back up my girl MJ.
You really are, but it's only going to get harder as each movie goes by. I'm sorry, Deebs. I just want you to know this because each movie, my thoughts get deeper and deeper hatred towards her. And my hatred like makes her like drop the movie down a whole point for me.
Oh,
that's
wow.
how bad by that third film.
No, I fully agree. Like I
like that's what I said.
This MJ,
I'm not
and
like I know
I never understood why people were so upset about the MCU MJ, like that they presented this like strong independent
yeah,
on
like,
MJ, but
bro,
I
that's why I like her.
I do too. I like that. Like, but people had a shitstorm about that.
And so it's weird. Don't hear what I'm not saying, folks. That's all I gotta say is I'm not saying I truly hate her in this film. I think she's bearable. If I had to choose all the MJs, like I said, this is the best MJ we've gotten out of the 3 Raimi films. But one, I don't think they have the best chemistry all the time as well. And sometimes they do. Like, I like the high school scenes they have together. The stuff they do in high school, I kind of like. But it also goes into the fact that in the beginning, she pays no mind to him. And then they kind of tease little things within, like, the cafeteria scene. She gives him glances. And, like, next thing you know, Harry's like, I'm going to go fuck her, bro. You cool with that? He's like, yeah, bro, go ahead. And I'm just like, okay, man. Okay. I mean, I'm tired of MJ. I hope she doesn't appear in this next film. That's the one character I hope that doesn't show up.
Michelle Jones.
But so I gotta say, this movie is really fucking wacky as well. Like, I don't remember this being this wacky. Like, it's pretty funny how Norman kind of just gets powers. He literally just overly cracks himself out. He puts himself in a crack box and blows crack all within it. And that's how he gets his powers. Like, just green crack. He literally had the lucky
man.
No, bro, he literally had the
Green
Lucky
crack.
Charms leprechaun shit out his little green pixie dust into cocaine, mix that shit up, and bro, homie got superpowers.
It's
And
essentially what Arcane. If anybody has seen Arcane, that's
No.
other than green is purple. That's what it is.
I also can't believe that was the first time you heard of League of Legends, by the way. I wanted to say
Never.
that earlier, but I
I've
completely
never heard of it.
forgot to.
True story.
That completely blows my mind, but that's completely besides the point. Yeah, Willem Dafoe is fucking iconic in his role as Green Goblin in this film. And I gotta say, I don't feel like it's as memorable as I feel like it was in the past. He does a lot of good and unique things. And I gotta say, dude, he was fucking fit as shit for this movie. Like, homie said, yeah, dude, I'm going to the gym. He played the J.K. Simmons getting ripped for fucking Batman versus Justice League. Like, pulling out the weights and shit like that. And I think the man himself just had so much levity to this movie that really has a nice consistency. He adds a nice dark consistency to this film. Like, when he brings him up to the roof, I really like that. The fire scene, burning in the building, that's such a good scene. And then the final scene, he plays a really good character that swaps personalities. Like, he goes between Norman Osborn and the Goblin very well. And I still, dude, those fucking mirror scenes are still really creepy to this day.
Yeah.
Like,
Sam Raimi's horror elements really do well with Norman Osborn. Really do well.
Yeah, and I think that's where this movie really shines. Is I think the darker elements that have to do with the Goblin are really well done. Like I said, I don't think that parade stuff holds up very well. I don't think his threat is very well known. And I don't know, he seems very cheesy, mainly because he's mostly CGI in that fight, I feel like, or a good portion of it. Or maybe I just think that the realistic fact is they would never do a parade in the middle of Times Square like that. Kind of just bothers. I don't know. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on Green Goblin in this film?
Go ahead, though.
I will say that Times Square sequence when he lands and then he like throws that cop across the way or whatever definitely felt a little Power Rangers, a little bit, and just overall the suit is very Power Rangers. I don't love the metal goblin face. I don't know how else they could have done it. I think there was some prosthetic work, concept art of
That
them
looks so
actually
much
trying to do a
better.
realistic goblin face.
So cool.
I would have preferred that, but here we are with the goblin helmet.
2021.
So that's probably my least favorite thing. Everything else, you've already nailed it. I was kind of touching on it earlier. Willem Dafoe is awesome. I also really liked the connection they had, especially as Norman. I especially liked the Thanksgiving scene. I like the tension there. How he has the goblin crack or whatever you want to call it, flowing in his veins, so he's unstable, almost like a steroid user. So he's on edge. And I love how he reaches for the food and like Aunt May slaps his hand, and then he just shoots her this look, and the room is just filled with tension. And not only that, like the way he interrogates Peter about his arm bleeding, and I don't know. I like those sequences. It's the more understated sequences versus like the big set pieces that everyone wants to talk about. But I think those scenes, especially Willem Dafoe, shines in.
I just don't know how Peter didn't realize that he was the Goblin when he realized he was Spider-Man. Like, homie made it kind of obvious. We're like, dude, he's giving you a really creepy face. Like, homie's sitting right next to you, too, and he's giving you like this super villainous stare down. Like, I know maybe it was the gun that did it in Homecoming, but I didn't think that you needed a gun. I thought like Michael Keaton was creepy enough, but I think Willem Dafoe is even fucking creepier. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, Peter, bro, do you not realize the way he's looking at you because of the location of your cut? He's literally asking you how you got it again while staring at it. Like, bro, put two and two together. He's much smarter than you. Like, bro, I thought you were supposed to be a fucking nerd. Fucking
you know what I liked
out.
about that though?
No, I don't
Because
know.
remember, Goblin and Norman are two different personalities. So the Norman side of him actually cares about Peter. So he's conflicted in that moment. That's why I think Willem Dafoe is genius in that scene.
And this goes back to my.
No, I don't disagree. It just goes back to the fact that Peter didn't recognize it.
Oh, you're just you're talking about how Peter just was oblivious.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the acting itself. It's just like that salty. I'm like, it's not big, but it's just like, bro, come on. We all know what it looks like when someone's staring at us just next to us and just acting really creepy. Like, it's a fucking sixth sense to us. Like, we all know that feeling. Like, you're telling me he wouldn't get that, especially after everything he just went through. That's my point. Sorry, Deebs.
Yeah, my favorite scene of William Dafoe in this is when he's talking to himself in the mirror and going back and forth with those different personalities. And I already touched on Mask of the Phantasm, which was right around Batman the Animated Series. One of my favorite scenes in Batman of all time, actually, is the introduction of Two-Face in the animated series, when he's literally just looking at a mirror and just going back and forth and talking to myself. And the way I compared, Mask of the Phantasm with this, I think there's probably some direct references in this, because that was my favorite scene, was Norman Osborn just going back and forth with himself in the mirror. It is campy as hell. I don't give a shit. I enjoyed it. I think it's menacing. I think it's fun. William Dafoe owns it. You know what I mean? Like that scene could have been god awful, but he puts it all in the line and he owns it. And one of like the biggest lines here that I think impact No Way Home is that comment about the one thing they love when he's talking about people, is that the one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, fall, die trying. In spite of everything you've done for them, eventually they will hate you. You kind of see a little bit of this happening in No Way Home. You saw kind of in Spider-Man Homecoming, like all Peter wants to do is like tell everybody that he's Spider-Man. He has these amazing gifts, and he went from nerd to this literally semi-Avenger, and he wants to tell the world, but he can't. And now everyone knows, and he's got a shit list of people like the Sinister Six, like Jonah Jameson, that want to take him down. So I think there's a little bit of reference there to go back and forth. But my favorite scene of Green Goblin by far in this movie is the one time when he just like nonchalantly smacks Spidey on the head on the rooftop. That is the
Yeah.
most awkward scenes in any superhero movie. Period. I
Nice,
don't
just a little
understand
tap
why
on
they
the
did
back
that.
of the head.
It's so weird. Like it's almost as if they were like best friends. Like it's really kind of, it did not fit the tone at all at the time. It was very weird, and I watched it again today, and it's still weird. I don't understand it. And anybody else?
It's just so awkward. He's just on a roof, just comes on. It's just like he's prancing around, just boop on the back of the head, and just like spider, spider, spider. Like, okay, Joker wannabe. I mean, okay, you wanna like, bro? Does Batman exist in your universe or some shit?
Yeah, and going back to like the spider sense, like there's like I actually watched Spider-Man 2 today too. There's a lot of scenes in this movie where like does the spider sense turn on and off? Like there's so many times where like he's there, but he's completely oblivious to what's going on. But then there's situations where he sees it coming. I don't understand spider sense in this movie or in this Raimi verse. So that's a little take.
He
I
can
mean,
catch
I
a tray
don't-
of food though.
It's true.
Can someone just explain to me what Goblin's plan was at the end that eventually killed him? Because I feel like no matter
I have no.
even if he got Peter, he was still gonna die. Like, bro, you like what I want to ask him. I'm like, can we unkill him? Like, I hope they acknowledge this in No Way Home. Like, bro, why would you do that? Like, bro, you're smart. You've almost killed this dude.
Maybe I
Now?
mean you look at Sinister Six. Maybe it was to round up a group of like extraordinary people because Norman was so hyper focused on building that building like the ultimate warrior. Maybe that was it. Maybe he's that is a direct tie to No Way Home is that he's going to get recruiting people to join his team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's the thing. I'm curious to like see what they do with this character and like what they acknowledge, what they don't. But something that was in this movie that I think stays consistent in the next two. Hopefully, I hope you guys agree with me with because if we don't, we're definitely gonna have a problem. And I think that's just him and Harry's relationship just isn't good. I don't like the Harry characters in these movies. He's obnoxious. He's whiny. He's ignorant. He's just, you don't want to watch him, or at least you don't want to watch him by himself. You know what I mean? His scenes just aren't very good, and his reasoning for everything isn't solid. So he just comes off as a giant fucking baby. And maybe it annoys him more because we already have the preconceived notion that this continues and only gets worse in the next two films to a point where he's unbearable in that third film. But you can just see the cracks forming in this movie with that character. And he just makes all the wrong decisions. I don't think Sam Raimi was writing these movies or something, or was directing them. It was just like, I want this character to just have nothing go correct in his life. I want him to just be absolutely fucking useless. I want him to do everything wrong. And then I want him to cry about it. And it's just annoying at the end of the day. And James Franco's performance definitely just nails it into the head even further for me.
Yeah, it's cringy. There's not a lot to that character at all, other than his jealousy for Peter and his dad accepting Peter more so than himself. So,
and it's funny. It was only like a few scenes. I'm like, bro, you only had a few scenes before Thanksgiving with those two together.
that's true.
I'm like, what are you really like worried about? Like, come on.
Well, I wish they would have dived a little bit more into his failures in the past, because Norman made a lot of comments about how he failed every single private school, rich boys school prior to that. So clearly that's multiple. There's been a lot of issues with Harry growing up. There's clearly a lot of issues with him regarding attachment and academics and getting along with others. They just never went there. So I think maybe there could be something there. But it just goes back to MJ and her childhood and her upbringing and her shitty life. There's a lot of failures on both ends.
Also, I don't know like why they're friends either. Like it seems like Harry's just kind of useless. Like he doesn't do anything. Like going back before, he doesn't do anything right. Like he's this character of just ignorance and whining. Like why would Peter ever be friends with him? Like even if he wasn't a nerd.
I think Peter's in the same boat. I think Peter is still. I mean, you look at his life before Spider-Man. He's in that same boat of looking for acceptance. He's looking to find his place in this high school. He's looking to find his place with friendship. And it's been hard. I mean, even the bus driver won't even fucking stop the bus to let him on. So people are tripping him on the bus. People are making fun of him. People call him a freak. People call him a weirdo. Even when he does something fucking great, they still call him a freak. So like that is, I think something, the loner, like the outsider appeal between Peter and Harry. I think there is definitely a parallel there.
Lewis, we will be reviewing Hawkeye tomorrow once the first 2 episodes drop. Probably, I'm thinking like Deebs. Yeah, well, look at our Twitter and you'll see the time posted later today. We're still figuring out the time. But yeah, we're doing episode 1 and 2 review tomorrow at the same time. Really fucking excited, especially with everything that's been coming out about it. I've been hearing nothing but good things. Gonna be banging his iron partner. Yeah, it's gonna be great. But guys, I gotta ask you one thing. Do you think we will ever get something more iconic in the Spider-Man universe? No Way Home aside, just in general, as iconic of a scene as with great power comes great responsibility speech.
Ryan coming in hot. That's hard for me. That's a great question because for me, Spider-Man 2, this was like the setup for Spider-Man 2, which outside of Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite live action Spider-Man movie. And you wouldn't have that greatness of Spider-Man 2 without that line, especially at the end of Spider-Man. So that is a tough question, man. Because you, like I said, if you were not watching earlier in this show, my Peter is the personal, the emotional, the intimate stories of him and MJ and him and Gwen and in the comics. And whereas, him tackling that inner conflict about what it means to be Spider-Man. I don't know where this No Way Home movie is going to go. So I will say no. I will say no.
Interesting. What about you, Loretta?
It's going to be hard to top, especially because the Elfman score is just probably one of my favorite scores ever. But I think it could be done in a sense that maybe we get Toby. See, damn it, Lewis took the words right out of my mouth. I think that Lewis, thank you, Lewis Watts, good job. I think it would be great if Toby were to flip it back to him, and I swear, if I can't pronounce his name, Giacchino, if he was like, if we got the rights for him to just,
oh my god,
and then Toby's like, look, Tom, or look, Peter, from Peter to Peter, with great power comes great responsibility, something like that. Would definitely pull on my strings.
It sounds plausible.
And the Elfman score comes on. Oh my god!
Yeah, dude,
it sounds plausible.
That'd be full circle for me, and
Bro,
I think that could be close. So
I think if that moment happened in No Way Home, that crowd or theater scream would equivalent to like fucking Endgame levels, possibly even higher.
That's next.
That would be fucking just nuts in general. I kind of hope we see that now, honestly. That was a good one, Loretta. Fuck.
And also one more.
Yeah.
If we see the 3 of them swinging together, I might freaking cry, man. I don't know. That might be the one.
I mean, oh damn,
like
bro.
Just swinging side by side in
Loretta,
a really well
this
shot.
is when I wished you watched.
One.
Loretta, this is when I wish you watched the trailer because I was going to mention a shot from the trailer that was obviously edited. Can I describe it at least?
No, thank you.
Oh my god, Loretta, you make.
But I am excited, my friend.
I have one too. I have one too. I want to say.
Go ahead, dude.
And it was hinted at in the trailer, the scene where Tom's Peter can't hold MJ and she falls, and Andrew Garfield sweeps in and makes a comment and saves MJ, just enough so that Tom can come back and then save MJ again as she falls. And Andrew makes a comment along the lines of like, cherish her, love is everything, something along those lines, that like with great power comes great responsibility, but this is your love, and cherish it, and something along the lines where like Andrew then like dies or some. This movie No Way Home has so much potential, the way that the Clone Wars did for Star Wars Attack of the Clones. Like this could set up the Amazing Spider-Man films to go from here to here with Andrew Garfield in that scene. I think there's definitely something here where Andrew Garfield can make this unbelievably emotional action that really makes a profound impact on Tom Holland's Peter Parker moving forward.
And also, it looks like Goblin gets like an upgrade at some point in No Way Home to no mask and kind of just freeze it a little bit. And if you guys have seen like that leaked image that's been going around of some concept art,
I've been out.
Anyone in the audience too, like that's looks similar to that design. That's all I'll say. But did we miss anything, guys? Is there anything you want to touch on before we get into final thoughts?
The Danny Elfman score needs to be given.
I think they're going to bring back both scores from both Spider-Man at the same time, because even the web one's really good, I think, as well.
Yeah.
The end of Amazing Spider-Man 2, even though it's not the best film, I love that title card where it's like dun 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 dun, and then the spider like rotates around, like so cool.
So it says it needs to be Tom that saves MJ. I think it's going to be Andrew that like pauses it, and Tom will be the one that saves MJ at the end. But Andrew's going to be dealing with a lot of shit going on and help him, and he's going to be the one that helps that. I got two more things before we wrap it up. The one was the scene of Peter Parker running across the rooftops behind Danny Elfman's score. We didn't touch on that. I feel like First Flight from Man of Steel took a lot of that from that. Very similar vibes there. I think that is for real. And then what was the one thing I wanted to say? Quick shout out to Tick Tick Boom. I just watched that.
Yes.
And I fucking loved it. And I was watching it and I'm like, first of all, I'm a loser. I never heard of Jonathan Larson. I never heard of Tick Tick Boom. Like Nicole watched Rent. She loves it. I never even heard of it.
And you never heard of Rent?
I heard. I take it back. I heard of it. But I never like spent a second on it. And there were, if you watch Tick Tick Boom, Jonathan Larson works at the Moon Dance Diner. That's also where MJ works.
Yeah, I noticed that too this time.
So that was kind of cool. Like back to back Moon Dance Diner references in 2 straight nights. That was fun.
Connected to Spider-Man in some regard as well too, because Andrew Garfield. Anyway, guys, let's get to final thoughts and let's give our grades for the movie. And I don't know if we're gonna do a ranking now, maybe a little bit in the future, maybe we'll do a video, but yeah, we'll just do grades for now. Loretto, why don't you hit us with your final thoughts and what do you give this movie?
For everything this film means to the superhero genre, to the comic book genre, to Spider-Man, who is my favorite solo hero in the Marvel Universe, it's a 9 for me. Easy. It's not perfect. It's not the most rewatchable of the trilogy because it gets better the second time around. But like I said, Sam Raimi hit it out the park for me. And I like that you brought that up, the rooftop scene, Dibes, because him becoming Spider-Man was one of the most fun things of that time, of that generation. The go Web, Shazam, go,
go,
why?
Up away, Web.
Up and away.
Yeah, like I loved that. And I also loved how he didn't understand how to swing initially. Like he totally just like damn near kills himself trying to learn how to swing. And even his silly getup as before he even makes the cool suit and his encounter with the robber at the very end. Like, did you give my uncle a chance? I don't know. I just, as a kid, all of that spoke to me, and it's not as impactful now, 20 years later, as an adult. But enough of that film is strong enough on its own. I give it a 9 out of 10.
Damn. What about you, Deebs?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Lo said, like I remember seeing this opening weekend, and that rooftop scene was so exciting. Like people have not seen that before. Like it's not like you watch it now and it does not have the same impact. But at the time, that was elite level shit, elite tier shit when it comes to us nerds watching this for the first time. I'm going to go a little higher than Loretto. I think this is upper tier
Oh my God.
Spider-Man for me. I'm going to go probably a 9.2, 9.25 on my end. I think this is just a vital movie for the superhero genre. I think for me, again, this is a personal preference. For me, what I love about this film, and especially the second one when we get to it, which I'm just going to gush about it, guys. I'm just going to cry the entire show, is that it's a character first, superhero blockbuster second. Sam Raimi truly understood more so what it means to be Peter Parker than Spider-Man. And I think that goes so well hand in hand, especially when you're talking about superhero characters and Batman and Superman. And, you got to start from the ground up. And that's why I love Mask of the Phantasm, because that movie understood what it meant to be Batman. And, it really gave us an in-depth view of what it means to be Bruce Wayne and Batman at the same time and vice versa. I think this is what I love about superhero movies. So Spider-Man, that nostalgia feeling of going back in time and, reliving those emotions is worth a 9.25 for me.
Damn. This only makes me realize how much more you guys are gonna hate me when I'm done. Yeah, Spider-Man 2002, so fucking iconic, man. This movie will always live on as like the first mainstream superhero movie, along with X-Men 2 years prior to this. And I think X2 is coming out around this time, maybe a year later, maybe 2004. I forgot, it was around
It was
that
03.
time. It was 3. That's what I thought. But anyway, back to my point. There's so much iconicism with this, between the Uncle Ben line, the quote, the famous, "With great power, there comes great responsibility." One of the most quotable things of all time. You get some of the most groundbreaking CG for the time that unfortunately doesn't live up. I don't want to say to today's standards, because it obviously doesn't, but it doesn't hold up as well as I hoped it would have, like some other films that are even older than a film from 2002. But nonetheless, with some cringy acting moments, I don't find the relationship all too believable, but there are moments that I do really like I said, with them in high school together. And you know what? I wish it went better from here. That's all I gotta say with those two. I wish their relationship got better, or their relationship went in any direction rather than just standing still. But then you've got the iconic Willem Dafoe coming and just giving a stellar performance that honestly I think really helped this movie. And this movie would be in a different place, I feel like, if he wasn't cast as the villain. So that's something to definitely think about. But yeah, I gotta give Spider-Man 2002 a 7 out of 10 on my end. Yeah, that's a rough blow. I know. I wasn't expecting you guys to go so high. But joke's on me. And you know what? I do hold this movie up to some standard because it's the first one, you know what I mean? So I do love it for those quirky 2002 aspects that I do criticize it for at the same time, because it does give you that, or bring you back to that feeling of first watching it at that time. So it does have some of that. But yeah, any final words before I start plugging everything, boys?
Broke my heart.
I know. I'm sorry, Deebs. The Deebler.
I totally get it. Like, how old were you when Spider-Man came out? 2002. How old were you? Seriously.
2.
See what I mean? Like I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like I was legit like just like horror movies. Like so many horror movies are dependent on that cinematic experience. Watching in high school, reacting with your buddies, and popcorn flying around, and you're talking shit to the movie and laughing and screaming at the same time. This was the epitome of that. This is why I love Fast and Furious. This is what there's a lot of movies that go on and on that like you tie in some of your favorite, most fondest cinematic experiences with. I had that with Spider-Man. Me and my buddies from high school. I'm literally we're already ready to buy tickets with that same buddy for No Way Home. Yeah, Ryan. And you know, there's that like the memories, man. The memories, the nostalgia factor is just. I agree, Ryan. There's definitely problems with it. It's definitely the tone goes all over the place. There's no question about that. But for me, it holds a special place in my heart for what it meant for me as someone who adored the character so much.
No, and I definitely get it. That's what I'm saying. I feel like me and you two are looking at it through two different lenses right now because of that gap of when we all saw it. I saw it much later, obviously. I think I saw it my first time when I was 4 or 5. Not too late, but man, that was an experience. I remember seeing fucking Spider-Man 3 in theaters in 2006. That was something, bro. That was something. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching us analyze the very first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film from 2002. And guys, don't worry, we're gonna do Spider-Man 2. We're gonna do Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2,
I love that movie.
Homecoming, Far From Home, and then that week, No Way Home, guys. So we got a few weeks of Spider-Man. It's gonna be hype. We don't know exactly when Spider-Man 2 is when we're gonna start filming and podcasting that, but check our Twitter for details on that. But another announcement on December, it's 11th or 13th, Deebs.
Let me get a calendar. 11th sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
December 11th, we are doing our traditional Christmas draft. We are looking for our 8th winner for the championship rounds. We are coming close, 3 spots left to get into the All-Star match. And guys, I want to plug right here, right now. If you guys want to participate in the Christmas draft or any future draft, you guys can just fill out the document in the chat. Copy paste that. I'll leave that there for a minute. Guys, go fill that out. Hope you guys have a great week. Check our Twitter for more info. And guys, stay tuned. Tomorrow, Hawkeye season 1, or maybe just a series, limited time. We don't know yet. We'll probably find out in that last episode around that week or something. But yeah, episode 1 and 2 are dropping tomorrow. And yeah, stay tuned on our Twitter yet again to find out times for the episode 1 and 2 review that we'll just combine into one big episode and talk about it together. I think that just sounds like a good plan. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for checking us out and spending a good hour with us. What are your thoughts and opinion? Leave them down in the comments below. Guys, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you on the next podcast with Spider-Man 2. Peace.